The world was silent, the air thick and heavy. Gone were the familiar sights of Central Florida. In their place stood a mangled, broken landscape. Buildings lay in ruins, mere skeletons of their former selves. Trees, once proud and tall, were stripped bare, their limbs scattered like broken bones. The sweet scent of orange blossoms was replaced by the acrid sting of salt and decay. This was the aftermath of Hurricane Milton. The silence was unsettling. No birdsong, no rustling leaves. Only the low moan of the wind, whistling through the shattered remains. It was a scene out of a nightmare, a testament to the raw power nature could unleash. The once vibrant heart of Florida had been stopped cold. The silence was broken only by the crunch of debris underfoot. Each step was a reminder of the devastation. The world seemed to hold its breath, waiting, watching. It was a landscape that whispered of loss, of lives forever changed. The air was heavy with more than just moisture. It was thick with grief, with the weight of thousands of shattered dreams. This was not just a physical destruction, it was a tearing of the soul of a community. Hurricane Milton, a name whispered with fear and respect. It was a storm that had been brewing for days. Its ominous presence felt long before it made landfall. The anticipation was palpable, with every news outlet and weather station tracking its every move, warning the public of the impending disaster. A Category 5 monster, it had roared ashore with unprecedented fury. The sheer power of the storm was unlike anything seen before, a testament to nature's raw and unrelenting force. As it approached, the skies darkened and the winds began to howl, signaling the beginning of a catastrophic event. Winds exceeding 180 miles per hour tore through the region, leaving a path of destruction in their wake. Trees were uprooted, buildings were torn apart, and anything not firmly anchored was swept away. The relentless winds howled through the night, a constant reminder of the storm's unyielding power. The storm surge, a towering wall of water, swallowed homes and businesses whole. Nothing had been spared. The surge was so powerful that it reshaped the coastline, erasing landmarks and altering the landscape in a matter of hours. Entire neighborhoods were submerged, leaving residents clinging to rooftops and seeking refuge wherever they could find it. The storm's fury was indiscriminate, leaving its mark on everything in its path. From the wealthiest neighborhoods to the most vulnerable communities, no one was spared from Milton's wrath. The destruction was widespread, with entire towns left in ruins and countless lives forever changed. Roads were washed away, bridges twisted into grotesque shapes. The infrastructure that once connected people and places was now a series of broken links, making rescue and recovery efforts even more challenging. The damage was so extensive that it would take months, if not years, to fully rebuild. Power lines lay draped across the wreckage like fallen spiderwebs. The electrical grid was decimated, plunging entire regions into darkness. Without power, communication was nearly impossible, adding to the chaos and confusion in the storm's aftermath. The infrastructure that had once connected communities was now a tangled mess. Roads were impassable, bridges were unusable, and the basic necessities of life were suddenly out of reach. The community was left to fend for itself, relying on the resilience and resourcefulness of its people to begin the long road to recovery. Milton had been a storm for the record books. Its intensity and the scale of its destruction were unprecedented, making it a historic event that would be studied and remembered for generations. The lessons learned from Milton would shape future preparedness and response efforts, ensuring that such a disaster would never catch the world off guard again. Meteorologists had struggled to find words to describe its intensity. The data they collected was staggering, revealing a storm that had pushed the boundaries of what was considered possible. The scientific community was left in awe, grappling with the implications of such a powerful and unpredictable force of nature. It was a storm that defied expectations, pushing the boundaries of what was considered possible. The models and predictions had fallen short, unable to fully capture the magnitude of Milton's fury. It was a stark reminder of the limitations of our understanding and the need for continued research and innovation in the field of meteorology. And in its wake, it left a community reeling, struggling to comprehend the sheer scale of the disaster. The shock and disbelief were palpable as people came to terms with the reality of their new world. the community gathered together, finding strength in unity and beginning the arduous process of rebuilding their lives.
The storm had passed, but its presence lingered. The scars it left behind were a constant reminder of the power and unpredictability of nature. The landscape was forever changed, a testament to the storm's unrelenting force. In the wreckage that stretched as far as the eye could see, the devastation was overwhelming, with entire neighborhoods reduced to rubble. The once vibrant and bustling communities were now ghost towns, silent and desolate, in the faces of the survivors, etched with shock and disbelief. The emotional toll of the disaster was immense, with countless lives forever altered. The stories of loss and survival were heart-wrenching, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, and in the eerie silence that had settled over the land. The once lively streets were now empty, the sounds of life replaced by an unsettling quiet. It was a silence that spoke volumes, a reminder of the storm's devastating impact. Milton had left an indelible mark on central Florida, a scar that would take years, perhaps generations, to heal. The road to recovery would be long and arduous, but the community was determined to rebuild and emerge stronger than ever. The legacy of Hurricane Milton would be one of resilience, strength, and the unbreakable spirit of those who endured its wrath.
As the initial shock began to fade, strange stories began to surface. The survivors, still reeling from the devastation, found themselves grappling with more than just the physical aftermath. They were now facing the unknown, the inexplicable. Whispers among the survivors, tales that sent shivers down their spines. These were not just idle gossip, but accounts filled with fear and uncertainty, shared in hushed tones. People reported seeing things, strange and unsettling occurrences that defied explanation. Shadows that moved on their own, lights flickering in the distance, and sounds that seemed to come from nowhere. Ghostly apparitions, shimmering figures glimpsed in the ruins. These figures, often seen out of the corner of one's eye, vanished as soon as they were noticed, leaving behind a sense of dread. They appeared as fleeting glimpses, gone as quickly as they came, leaving behind a chill and a sense of unease. The survivors couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that something was lurking just beyond their sight. The mist itself seemed to hold secrets. It wasn't just a natural phenomenon, but something more sinister, something that seemed almost alive. It clung to the wreckage, swirling and shifting in unnatural patterns. The mist moved with a purpose, as if it were searching for something or someone. Some claimed to see faces within the vapor, spectral visages staring out from the swirling gray. These faces, twisted in expressions of pain and sorrow, seemed to be trying to communicate, to tell their own stories of loss and despair. The line between reality and imagination blurred. The survivors questioned their own sanity, wondering if the trauma was playing tricks on their minds. Was it the trauma playing tricks on their minds? Or were these phenomena real, a manifestation of the collective grief and fear that hung over the devastated landscape? Or was there something more to these eerie phenomena? Something that defied the rational explanations and delved into the realm of the supernatural? The stories spread, passed from one survivor to another. Each retelling added new details, new layers of fear and uncertainty. Each telling added a new layer of unease, fueling the growing sense of dread. The survivors clung to these stories, finding a strange comfort in the shared experience of the unknown. The whispers spoke of lost souls, unable to move on from the devastation. These souls, trapped between worlds, seemed to be reaching out, trying to make contact with the living. Of the land itself, scarred and wounded, crying out in pain. The very earth seemed to mourn, its cries echoing through the ruins. The rational mind struggled to explain these events, but the heart knew fear. The survivors were caught in a battle between logic and emotion, trying to make sense of the senseless. The wind carried these whispers, weaving them into the fabric of the devastated landscape. The whispers became part of the environment, as much a part of the ruins as the broken buildings and shattered lives. They became part of the aftermath, as unsettling as the physical destruction itself. The whispers were a constant reminder of the tragedy, a haunting echo of the past. The eerie phenomena served as a constant reminder that some wounds ran deeper than what the eye could see. The survivors were left to wonder if they would ever truly heal, or if the whispers in the wind would haunt them forever. Dr. Emily Carter, a renowned psychologist specializing in trauma, arrived in Central Florida with a heavy heart. The devastation left in the wake of Hurricane Milton was unlike anything she had ever encountered. She had dedicated her life to understanding the human mind, its resilience, and its vulnerabilities. Her work had taken her to many disaster zones, but this one felt different. But nothing could have prepared her for the sheer scale of the psychological toll exacted by Hurricane Milton. The storm had not only destroyed homes and infrastructure, but had also left deep, invisible scars on the minds of the survivors.
The mind, like any structure, can only withstand so much pressure, Dr. Carter explained, her voice soft but firm. Trauma on this scale, it shatters our sense of normalcy, of safety. The very foundation of our reality is shaken, leaving us adrift in a sea of uncertainty. The world as we knew it is gone, and with it, our anchors of reality. The things we once took for granted, the routines that gave our lives structure, have all been swept away.
The survivors she spoke with were living proof of her words. They were not just dealing with the loss of their homes and possessions, but with the loss of their sense of self. They were haunted by nightmares, plagued by flashbacks of the storm's fury. The simplest tasks, like leaving their shelters or making eye contact, felt insurmountable. The trauma had left them paralyzed, unable to move forward. The world had become a frightening, unpredictable place. Every gust of wind, every dark cloud on the horizon was a reminder of the storm's wrath.
The human mind is capable of incredible things, Dr. Carter continued, but it's also incredibly fragile. In the face of such overwhelming loss, it's natural for our perceptions to become distorted, for the line between reality and imagination to blur. The mind struggles to make sense of the chaos, often creating its own narratives to fill in the gaps. This is why we hear stories of ghostly apparitions and strange mist formations in the aftermath of such disasters.
The stories of ghostly apparitions, the strange mist formations, Dr. Carter believed they were the mind's way of coping, of trying to make sense of the chaos. These were not supernatural occurrences, but rather the mind's attempt to process the unprocessable. These were not ghosts, she argued, but manifestations of grief, of trauma, etched onto the very fabric of their being. The mind, in its desperate attempt to find meaning, creates these visions as a way to externalize the internal turmoil. Dr. Carter's work in Central Florida was just beginning. She knew that healing would be a long and arduous journey, but she was determined to help these survivors rebuild not just their homes, but their lives. With time, patience, and support, she believed that the human spirit could rise from the ashes, stronger and more resilient than ever before. The road to recovery would be long, but with Dr. Carter's guidance, the survivors of Hurricane Milton had a beacon of hope to light their way. If you found this exploration insightful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the mysteries of our world. Stay curious, stay safe, and keep watching the skies.